We're going live now.
Okay.
How have you been?
I'm good. I just read the chapter on Miri and Hinduism. I don't know if you know who Miri is. Miri was some
No, I
medieval
don't.
Miri was some medieval rabbi who wrote about Avodah Zarah and basically had the most lenient position on Avodah Zarah. And I guess basically just boiled it down to that if your religion is promoting morality, then you're fine, according to Miri.
How do you spell his name?
M-E Miri, Meiri, Miri.
Meiri. Never heard of him. So he's a rabbi?
He's a famous ancient rabbi, yeah.
Menachem Hamiri.
Yes, Menachem Hanmiri. And he's actually his texts are old, but they've only been coming into the English language for maybe 100 years or so, something like that. And so he's starting to influence Judaism, and so it looks like Miri is what the rabbis are going to use to certify current Hinduism as not Avodah Zarah.
Right. And on what grounds? So you're saying he said what? Why are they using him as
say that
authority?
since Hindus aren't running around murdering and stealing and all this other kind of stuff and sexual immorality, that their religion is not considered Avodah Zarah, even if they're worshiping idols.
Okay, but you know the whole idea of repeating the prohibitions against idolatry and blasphemy is I mean, the purpose of that is to make sure that Gentiles worship the same God, the very same God that forbade idolatry and blasphemy.
Well,
That's the
their
idea.
position. Their position is twofold. That these Hindus are not polytheistic, right? So they're only worshiping one God. So, but they are allowed under Nachmanides. They are allowed to have their own lesser beings that they worship alongside God, but they have not forgotten the absolute. So since they have not forgotten the absolute and that they actually are worshiping the one true absolute God, they don't need to worship Hashem by name.
Well, I would have thought it's important to make sure that they're worshipping the same God, because
as long as you're
we know
worshiping
that
the
Jews
absolute.
get very upset if they're not even thinking of God in the correct way, because of what happened to Spinoza. Are you aware of the story of Spinoza?
Yes, but that only applies to Jews. That's what this whole book is about, is that only Jews are obligated to think about God correctly, where there's some wiggle room for non-Jews. So a Jew cannot cannot pay homage to the one true God, but also say, well, but I also pray to one of his directors, one of his created beings under him, an angel or this or star or whatever. So you're not allowed to do that. But
Because that's your truth.
yes, but it's permissible for Gentiles, at least according to some people.
Okay, so we know there was a problem, because if you look at Jewish Virtual Library, which is actually a reform website, it's actually quite helpful, because it says that in the medieval age, in the Middle Ages, there was a bit of a kind of wobble, like, well, these Christians, we really want to do business with them, but they are polytheists and idolaters. And then some rabbi associated with Rabbi Mendelssohn, who was being well treated by the Germans at the time because of the German Enlightenment, he was well, he was quite popular. I mean, I guess he was the equivalent to Rabbi Sachs, the late Rabbi Sachs, and the Germans and who were also Christians were being so friendly to him that they invited him to join to become Christian, and he said no, I couldn't possibly. But the point was that from that time onwards, Jews were kind of, oh, but they're being so nice to us. We should be nice to them back and not say mean things about their religion. And oh, surely Shituf is not as bad as Avodah Zarah. So
well, wasn't that Nachmanides' position, kind of?
No, but I'm sure you've come across the Jewish Virtual Library webpage about the Noahide laws. You must have read it, mustn't you?
Probably. I probably have. Yeah.
It's quite a short entry. I mean, which is worded along the lines of, well, there has never been any. Well, Muslims have never been considered as anything other than Noahides. It was only in medieval times that Christians came to be considered Noahide, and then if you look around, you will find that there was a reason, because the Jews wanted to do business with these Christians, and they needed to be able to swear by contracts and things for their commercial partnerships. And the rabbi was saying, well, you can't do business with these idolaters, you can't trust them. So that they wanted that rule diluted, and they did indeed dilute it, and now they're not so sure. But I mean, we have to understand the economic and social and political pressures. It's like, well, unless we fancy moving again, what can we do?
Well, today there's new social pressures, and the social pressure is that Jews need allies, and the Muslims aren't their allies. The Christians are only half their allies. So if that means that in this area and time, declaring Hinduism as Shituf will give the Jews power, then they're going to do it.
Yeah, but are we talking about what the Jews are likely to do, or are we
no, let's talk about what they are.
Standpoint?
Let's talk about what the Jews are doing, not what they're likely to do. What
okay,
they are.
So I mean, then there's no point then, because they can do anything they like. They can say any.
No, but Claire, it's deep. Look, just because a Jew is following Nachmanides doesn't mean that he doesn't care about his religion.
Yeah, but he's not following it correctly. I mean, he's.
How do you know that? Well,
we know about we know about idolatry.
Okay, I mean, what's wrong with Nachmanides? What did Nachmanides do wrong?
Okay, we were going back to medieval times about these rabbis who suddenly decided to be nicer about Christians.
Then the first was Nachmanides, and so what did he do wrong, in your opinion?
Well, he diluted the prohibition against idolatry.
Did he?
Well, I don't know. What are you saying he said? I haven't read it.
Well, Nachmanides just basically said that there was a different standard for non-Jews to uphold, and that they were not up to the same threshold as Israel, and that the Bible. He pointed out that the Bible. Or he pointed out a few things, but the point is that he basically he was the one who introduced this two standards, one for Jews, one for Gentiles.
Well, I mean, obviously the Noahide laws are, a different standard for Jews and Gentiles, but the fact that they incorporated the prohibitions against idolatry and blasphemy suggests that they are worshipping the same God who forbade idolatry and blasphemy. So now you're saying that some rabbi said, "Oh, it's okay."
Well, not just some rabbi. Nachmanides is not some rabbi.
All right. So he was born in the 12th century, and he died in the 13th century. And where did he grow? Where did he live? He lived and died in the land of Israel in the 13th century.
Okay, so he wasn't living he wasn't in a Christian country.
Okay, and Okay, I don't know what he said, so it would be
I told you that
difficult.
there's a two tier where the criteria for what idolatry is much stricter for Jews than it is for Gentiles. So they
Well,
are
because it's
allowed
death for them.
what?
It's death for Jews if they are guilty of idolatry and blasphemy, and we
But
have to
even
remember.
Shatuf, but Shatuf is not impermissible in his opinion for non-Jews.
Yeah, but this isn't clear, and we already know that their the judgment will they're compromised basically. I mean, okay, I've been saying in the past few weeks that we can't trust the opinion of any Islamic scholar who lives under a monarchy because they'd be too scared to offend the king and well, yeah, so because they don't want to be, have that a death warrant, their death warrant signed, or be thrown into the dungeons. They're going to be minding their p's and q's, so they're compromised, and that's why I said that
Well, your favorite
only the
people should,
supreme leader of Iran, can be halfway trusted to come
and
up
he's
with a
not doing it,
decent
and
thing.
they're not really, they're not really spreading the light. If you're waiting on them to kind of like be the light of Islam, that's not what they're doing right now. They're not.
Yeah, because people like Daniel Harkikatju, I know, even a lot of them think, oh, we can do a deal with the Christians to gang up against the Jews. That's what they're thinking. That's why they're holding back. Oh, we mustn't offend the Christians and whatever. And obviously they haven't done it for centuries, and they don't particularly want to, and they don't like being told by me that they never ever obeyed chapter 18, verse 4
Well,
of the
Claire,
Quran
you're
that
teaching
commands
me
them.
something. You, with all your principles, are not getting anywhere, and all these unprincipled people are ruling the earth. So I don't know what to tell you anymore.
Well, I have to say that they're being unprincipled. I mean, that's
Okay,
why I have
but
to go.
they have power. It's giving them power. Why should anyone give? Why should anyone take on your principles if you have no power?
Well, there is, in theory, people who want to be principled, but who are not aware of the terms of the debate.
Okay,
Because okay, so
but
so
what if
basically, what
what? Okay, but what if most people want power over being principled?
well, then they're hypocrites, and they'll go to hell. And if they say, "I don't care if I go to hell," then you can say, "Well, then it means you're an atheist and a hypocrite, and nobody should listen to anything you say."
Well, nobody's going to listen. Look, Jehovah's Witnesses are very principled, and that's what stops them from getting mass amounts of power. They're too principled. They're too. They don't bend. They don't sway. They don't move. They don't budge. And so, that's the only reason why they don't have power. They could have power if they had principles that administered strength. I'll say that they have principles that administer weakness. But one of the
They
things
should just
why they
become Muslim,
well
right? Because I mean, if
well
they
no I'm
really
just
cared about their afterlife, it's like they're obviously on the wrong side of history, and they have been badly treated because once upon a time, when Constantine the Great converted to Christianity, he was an Arian. That's what he was. He had a
I know, but
deathbed.
they're not the same thing. Aryans and
Yeah, and,
Jehovah's
and then
Witnesses.
they realized, oops, we can't be Aryans because the Jews are going to laugh at us and say that, their God is more powerful than our crucified Jesus. So we've got to adopt the Trinity that
No, you didn't
requires.
have to. You could have just worshipped. You just do what the Jehovah's Witnesses did. Worship Jehovah, and Jesus is just the Messiah. That's it. It's not that complicated. You don't have to make Jesus God or anything. They chose to do that. They wanted to do that.
Um, well,
They
I think
wanted
that
their
there
whole.
was a theological problem, which is why they changed it. They couldn't have changed it for no reason.
What
So,
theological problem? What theological problem do Jehovah's Witnesses have? What theological problem?
oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Constantine
I am.
and
No,
his
but you,
son.
you said that they needed to become Trinitarians in order to solve a theological problem. Which problem is that? Because I don't know of anyone.
Okay, so So the Jews would be saying to Christians, like, you worship Jesus, don't you? And
Nope.
the Christians would,
They,
no,
they
they
would say
would.
no.
And then the Jews,
Arians would say no. What did the Arians say? No, I do not worship Jesus as God.
but then what's the point of your religion then?
That he's the Messiah. That he's the Messiah that came to bring in the new order. He's not God. He's a Messiah.
Well, what's all this story about the virgin birth and that kind of thing then?
Well, that
And the Son
you
of
don't have to
God.
believe he's God, but it's also I don't think Jesus needs to be God for everything to make sense. I think the Jehovah's Witness religion makes sense without Jesus being God.
Well, I don't. Okay, I had a discussion with E. Michael Jones, and he admitted, as a Catholic and a Trinitarian, that Arianism was easier to believe, and you can easily say, well, okay, if all I'm required to believe is that Jesus is the Son of God, whose mother was the Virgin Mary, if that's a narrative, I can say it, and why can't we say it? And the real reason was because the Jews would be really annoyed at the Christians or the Romans for culturally appropriating their scripture and making a new religion out of it that is against the principles of Judaism, which is, because of the idolatry of it all. So obviously, the ones would be, kind of gunning for Jesus and would be, trying to upset Christians all over the place by saying, well, our God of Israel, who is the son of your Jesus, is obviously more powerful than the God that you worship.
But if they were Arians and they weren't worshiping Jesus as God, this is not a problem.
Well, I'm sure they thought they were worshiping Jesus. Come on.
Why? Then if this was pre-Council of Nicaea with the Trinity or whatever it was, or whatever that council was, and people were Arians and weren't worshiping Jesus as God and just thought he was the Messiah and a good guy, I don't see the problem with that.
Well, because the Jews are going to say that our God who created the universe is more powerful than your crucified Jesus.
They would say, yes, I know, thank you, I already know that. That's what a Jehovah's Witness would say, like, got it, already, on board with you, what's next?
So your cooked up religion will do you no good, and if our God exists,
why would their cooked up religion?
You're for it because of the prohibition against idolatry and blasphemy.
But they're not practicing idolatry or blasphemy. Arians are not practicing either of those two things.
Of course they are, because they worship Jesus.
No, they don't. If Jehovah's Witnesses do not worship Jesus, that is absolutely not what they do.
Okay, so what's your creed
when it comes to Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, you must have a creed.
Jesus was the first created being that God made. Was the first created being that God made, and so
he's some kind of angel.
Yes, he's an angel, and he's an angel, and angels are allowed to take human form. It happens in the Torah. The Jews admit that angels take physical form, and he is an angel who took physical form to fulfill prophecy. He's not God. He's another entity that is not yoked with God.
Yeah, and the Jews would say, well, we worship God directly, and
Jehovah's Witnesses would say
bull stories.
No, we would say Jehovah's Witnesses worship Jehovah directly.
And what is the thing that they say they witnessed?
Jehovah's power.
Okay, but there must have been a reason why the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, abandoned Arianism.
Because they wanted to import Trinitarian. They wanted it to look more pagan, a man God.
It's already pagan to worship a man.
Yeah, but it wasn't pagan when they weren't worshiping a human being or as one of the Godheads. That wasn't.
No, it was even worse than that because there was what they call the Marian cult, which is basically the worship of Mary.
Well, I know, but
there's still songs and hymns saying, "Oh, Mother Mary, Mother of God."
Yeah, but
Hail, Mary, Mother of God. They say.
Okay, I don't even think. Look, even even Orthodox rabbis say that Jehovah's Witnesses are not idol worshippers. They're not. Claire, these people go deeper than you do with these things. They ask deeper questions. It's not like,
No, no, no. These
yes,
which
they do.
rabbi?
You just take this very shallow, like, as soon as I see anything, it means it's idolatry. And like, that's it. Like, but that's not how rabbis think. That's not how rabbis think. Obviously that's not how rabbis think. I keep showing you over and over how they're not thinking like that.
Yeah, because they want to fit in.
Okay, how is, first of all, until relatively recently, how is becoming buddy-buddy with Hinduism fitting in?
Because they want everybody to like them.
Okay, well, first of all, it is practical, but there's more, okay. Well, let me tell you, then when do you think the rabbis are ever going to determine that European paganism is Shatuf? I can tell you right now that's never going to happen.
Well, there are some rabbis who look. It's already in their traditions. So we've been through this before. We know that Orthodox Jews, the ones who take their religion seriously, are not allowed to enter churches, which are places of abomination where idolatry is practiced.
Yeah,
we
since
know
the
that.
Trinity,
I didn't make it up.
Since the Trinity, yeah, but first of all, you have to remember at first when Christianity first started, it was just some other Jewish messianic cult. There were plenty of messiahs running around claiming to be the Messiah. You could have been a Jew and in any one of those messianic cults, as long as that Messiah was not saying I'm God, then you were still a Jew. You just had believed the Messiah had come, and you said, "This is the Messiah." It's not illegal in Judaism to believe someone is the Messiah. That's not illegal.
Yeah, okay, but the point is that they still have, Orthodox, nobody thinks the Messiah has come. Even the ones who think it's Jesus says, well, he came, but he needs to come again.
Well, they believe the Messiah came in his
end
first
times, and the whole idea is that, when it would be a Messiah to come and herald the end times, and it's obviously not the end times because we're living life normally and doing our usual thing. So it's like, yes, they have a creation story and they have an end time story. It's logical, if you have a beginning, you have an end.
But these stories aren't. Adam and Eve is not a logical, creating all the animals as they are right now, putting them into the world, and Adam and Eve out of nowhere 6,000 years ago. That's not logical. That's not a logical explanation of the universe.
It doesn't matter. It's the story, okay?
No, yeah, but the story is illogical. The story is illogical.
Okay, what I think you mean to say is that it is fanciful and you don't quite believe in it. But the point is that there is some sort of story about some flood in Greek mythology and also Chinese mythology. So
okay, that doesn't mean that all the animals. So I'm supposed to be, because there was a Greek flood myth. I'm supposed to believe all the animals fit on an ark and lived there for 40 days and 40 nights. That's
not really the important bit because, so it's like the story is that Noah was he was a good guy and everybody around him were terrible sinners, and God said, well, I'm really mad at all these people. I'm going to wash their, I'm going to wash them right out of, off the face of the earth, but you, Noah, you're good, and I'm going to save you and give you forewarning of what I'm going to do. So build that ark of yours, and save all the animals you want to save. So that's what. Okay, so the presumption of that story, the premise of that story, is that people then knew right from wrong, but they weren't doing it. Do you see? I mean, that should be obvious. And it's like, okay, there were no no divine revelation, no scripture. Maybe it was just an oral tradition. So there were the 7 Noahide laws, but nobody really listened to it, nobody remembered or nobody obeyed it, and then I guess God upped the ante and said, well, since you're all so forgetful, here's a book of my laws. and 2 tablets too to aid your memory. And then, there was this interval like, oh, how come the Jews got the revelation? What did they ever do to deserve, God doing?
Yeah, but
And
all these, look, try telling these stories without all the fictitious history. Try convey. Can you give me anything that's not full of fictitious history and absurdities?
no, but the timeline is the
Which
narrative.
never happened. Okay, you know what? I could say 1,000 years ago, this man flew up into the sky, and then he flew back down and rode a horse across the ocean. I could say, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you to literally believe in the story, but I'm asking you to infer from the narrative.
But if this never happened, why does it matter? It never happened.
No, okay, well, okay, the Torah is here. It's
yes,
still here. The Jews go on about
lots of fairy tale books are around too. Lots of,
but the point is that Jews think that their Torah is from God, and Muslims think that Quran
Jews
is from
think
God.
that. Okay, well, then your God is an idiot if he's expecting you to believe absurd fairy tales. Then I don't want a God like that. Why can't God just give
It's not about the stories, but the laws.
The stories are supposed to help you want to keep the laws, but if you're telling people absurdities, they're not going to want to keep your laws.
Well, people still love these stories.
Well, not everyone does. There's enough people who don't like them that they're no longer part of Western governance. Enough people said enough with this that we don't want it, that even the religious Christians in America do not want these stories to become official narrative of American government.
What? Who said?
Okay, how many Christians do you know in America that are not radical Nick Fuentes idiots that run around saying, well, I want the Bible. I'm saying white people and Christians, we're so sick of all these fairy tales that we said we're separating our government from this. We don't want our government involved in this anymore.
It's not so much the stories, but the institution of monarchy. They didn't want to be told by the king.
Well, you could get rid of monarchy without getting rid of a religion too at the same time. You know what I mean?
No, but if you look at what Christianity was about, when it first was founded and the Roman Catholic Church established, it was because Constantine wanted to Christianize Rome because of all the fighting before that.
Yes, but people are clever enough to separate monarchy from the Bible, and if they really wanted to have a religious Christian republic, yes, they could do it. Nothing's stopping you from having a Christian republic.
No, but don't you understand? Didn't you learn about the divine right of kings?
No, that's all you and some Jews go on about. That's not. First of all, I was never taught that the Bible teaches the divine right of kings. I was never personally taught that. I was taught that the king, actually, no, the Bible makes the separation, the clear separation between what Caesar's laws are and what God's laws are. And you are supposed to follow Caesar's laws as long as they don't contradict God's laws, and that's it.
Yes, that verse in the New Testament when Jesus was said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God. So it's like, well, pay your taxes and obey the law of the land, which is given to you by a Christian monarch.
It wasn't a Christian monarch. No, Caesar wasn't Christian.
Yes, not at the time, but
yes. The point of that is that you are supposed to follow that the governments are pagan, and Christians are supposed to adhere to any law in the pagan government which does not contradict a law in the Bible. That's what. It's not saying that you're supposed to have a Christian king and whatever he says goes. That's not what the Bible teaches.
Well, it's very difficult to work out what the Bible is telling us to do.
Well, this divine right of kings is not.
It's not written by the same person, is it?
Look, this divine right of kings is a thing that people obsess over, where it's like nobody in America was taught about the divine right of kings out of the Bible.
Because you're a republic. But
neither was anyone in Europe. No one in Europe. Look, it's not there anymore because it's not actually a central tenet of the Bible. It was a cultural practice, that went on, but it's not from the Bible.
Well, to be fair, the Jews had kings, right? And they weren't very good kings. And
Yeah, but
according
at
to
the
the book of
time of
Samuel, when the Jews asked God for a king, he wasn't happy about them.
yes, but the time when Jesus came on the earth, Jews had no self rule. They were ruled over by pagans. He was not coming to establish a Christian kingdom with a king to enforce Christian laws or for us to obey because he had the power of the Christian state. He said, just follow the emperor when he tells you what to do, unless he's telling you to do something like practice idolatry.
Oh, but okay, Christianity itself was idolatry from the beginning.
Not from the
Okay,
beginning. Nope, not from the beginning. Nope, it was a messianic cult. It was not idolatry from the beginning.
okay. So at the beginning, the story goes that his apostles were Jews, right? Or are we not sure now whether
Well, most of them were
apostles of Jesus were?
supposedly, yes. Paul was a Pharisee.
Yeah, but Paul never met. Well, Paul of Tarsus, Paul
Oh,
who
yeah,
had
that's
the
right. Well,
Damascene
I
conversion.
think his 12 disciples were supposed to be Israelites, yes.
Yeah, so so obviously it didn't catch on because Jews, would point to Deuteronomy chapter 13 and say, look, if anybody says tries to change your religion, kill him. So obviously it didn't work with their fellow Jews. And then Paul, who was a tax collector, a Roman tax collector who had the job of persecuting Christians. Well, he was on his way to Damascus, and then he sort of kind of had a fit or something. And then he thought he met Jesus, but Jesus had died about 100 years ago. But anyway, he decided he had a mission to, make everybody Christian. He sort of realized that he wouldn't he wouldn't be able to persuade his fellow Jews. So he tried, as a marketing decision, to persuade the Gentiles who were more amenable to, worshipping the Son of Mary, who was supposed to
Not
have
when
been
he was not
impregnated by
at his
God.
time. At his time, they were not worshiping Jesus as God, like, or the Son of Mary or any of that kind of stuff. This was just, I mean, they just believed he was. Claire, there were dozens of messiahs around Israel at this time. There were dozens of Jews and sects who said, "Oh, this person's my Messiah. This person's my Messiah." Like it happens today. Samuel thinks that his rabbi is the Messiah. He's not getting beheaded for that. He's not getting hounded out of the Jewish community because he thinks a rabbi is the Messiah. I mean, you wouldn't get hounded out of the Jewish community for believing that.
Well, there was a time when, Christians were being persecuted, wasn't it?
Well, that might
Well,
not
Daniel
necessarily.
and being thrown to the lions and stuff like that.
No,
I'm a bit
that's
vague.
way before Christ. That's way before Christ. That had nothing to do with
Was it?
Christians. Way before Christ. That's Old Testament. Daniel is Old Testament.
Okay. So he was a Jew and they threw him to the lions because. Well, why did they throw Daniel to the lions?
Because they wouldn't bow before the idol.
Okay. Um, but the point is that nobody believes in it. But they obviously they don't want to admit that there was, that they've been fooled, or that their ancestors were, or that their ancestors
Well,
never
I don't
believed in
see
it.
Unitarianism. I don't see where they have this problem, and it is growing. And I don't see why Christians can't just dump the Trinity and then just go back to the old, pre-Catholic Christian church like lifestyle. You know what I mean? Just if you want to keep your Christianity, just give up the Trinity and become a Unitarian, and then everything's fine.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the Unitarian Church hasn't got much power. So, I mean, this is fundamentally the problem. I do. Okay, I once attended a service at the Unitarian Church, and it's completely different, obviously, because, they don't believe in the Eucharist, communion, and any of that. And they cook up some weird ritual that I remember was something to do with, picking up a stone and pretending the stone had your worries and troubles, and then dumping it somewhere. And I thought that was a bit weird. But anyway, I mean, that was my experience of the Unitarian Church, and it's not going to catch on because it's not. Yeah, people just want some old ritual that they have sort of heard of or read about in books.
Not everyone, Claire. Not everyone wants that, and those people might not win at the end of the day. Maybe I'm not. It's like I don't need some old. Well, I don't need it, so I don't assume everyone else needs it. You need it, so you assume the whole world is just addicted to old rituals and status and all this other kind of stuff. Well, not everybody is for that. Not everybody falls in that camp.
Yeah, I know a lot of people just, have their weird reasons for preferring this religion to, another religion.
But you don't think it's weird to just do something because it's old and that's it, and it's been around, so therefore I'm just going to do it, because that's weird too.
Well, this was what Carol was saying to me, that she was talking about these white nationalists and why they don't, why they reject Islam, and she was thinking of ways of marketing Islam to them and say, oh, it's a Christian heresy and you can still like Jesus and, that kind of thing. But it will be very difficult to sell the idea to them unless you go, boom, you're suffering because you're an idolater and blasphemer, and that's your problem.
And Muslims aren't suffering. Muslims are just so happy living their best life.
Yes,
they are.
Everybody's suffering because they haven't got the right idea. And therefore, I've got the right idea, and you just have to acknowledge me as the Messiah.
That everyone admits they'd rather be dead than live under. So then what does that say?
No, it's not going to be so bad.
Well, that's what everyone's saying. I'd rather be dead than live under your rule.
No, you haven't asked everybody. And
everyone we've talked to is totally...
Yeah, but they're a bit crazy. And also, it's not really...
Okay, you're blaming everyone but yourself. You're blaming every single last person on earth except for you. And I'm just saying that if you're cutting out something...
I'm blaming you. I'm blaming you.
How are you blaming me?
Because you're not playing ball. You could be so helpful. You could be so significant, but you just choose not to because it's not your idea.
No, not because it's not. If you came out, I follow. I have people I follow. I follow what's his name. Raymond Cattell's Beyondism wasn't my idea. I still follow it. It's not my idea. Just because something's not my idea.
I don't think you even care. You're just LARPing.
No,
that's
cheap. That's cheap. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. You just accuse everyone of not believing, not caring, and because if they don't do it your way, well, then they really don't. Then why are people up on these spaces talking, arguing if they don't care? People who don't care don't get involved.
To express their pain. They just want to go, ow, ow, ow. It's the Jews. They hurt me. Oh, look at the Muslims. Aren't they annoying? And that's all they want to say again and again and again. They don't want any change.
That's not what I say. I present at least my solutions. You say they won't work, but at least I present something. I have a detailed ideology of my own.
Okay,
well, you just don't like it, but that doesn't mean I don't care or I don't believe or anything like that. Just because I have my own separate belief system.
You don't want to do it ASAP. You think you have time?
No, well, I do. I do because I'm not looking. Yeah, exactly. I'm not looking to Well, exactly. I wouldn't want to become the king of these fucking idiots, Claire. You want to become the king of the idiots and deal with them. I'd rather just have a small group.
Surely you need to assume a leadership position for anything to happen.
Well, I could be is a prophet a leader, or are they just a person who spreads a message?
Well, it would help if you had people to lead, so you can show everybody that you have followers and you.
But not all the prophets of Israel were leaders. Some of them were not liked and not treated well and didn't have armies and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and it didn't end well for them.
Well, but they're still prophets. Their words are affecting society today, even though it didn't end well in their personal life. You can't take away the fact that their prophetic words make up the building blocks of the world's 3 largest major religions. They might have been killed for what they said, but you can't take that away from them.
Well, Muhammad is the most successful because
Well,
he died a
I'm
natural death and he was a successful military and political leader.
okay. Well, but there still the Jews prove that not every single one of your prophets needs to be a military leader for you to have success in this plane.
Well, okay, Jesus got himself executed, and it's like,
And look how
but we
successful
don't
he's
want that to
been.
happen to us,
And look
do
how
we?
successful he's been. Look how he got fucking
Has
executed,
he
and look
been successful? I think
look how successful Christianity has been. It's taken over the whole world.
okay, but only to be taken over by Islam because now that
Okay, well, we
it's
don't know
failing,
that yet. You look, Claire. I'm not. Look, I have plenty of examples in history and in my life of people who didn't take over the world in their lifetime. Yet, beyond their lifetime, did they have a really, really major impact? Yeah. So what? That's what I look to. I'm not looking. I don't care about someone who became the king because if I wanted to make it all the way to the top, I would have to compromise. I would have to tell people what they want to hear. I don't want to do all that. I'd have to dumb it down, water it down. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the Jehovah's Witnesses could do that too. They could just loosen their morals and dumb down their literature so that it wasn't, and nothing's offensive in there and all this other kind of stuff. And then they could have billions of followers, but they're not going to do that.
well, I don't know why you can't just acknowledge me as a Messiah substitute and just see what happens.
Messiah of what? Messiah of what?
Well, the one that they want to come, but which won't
Who's
come.
they? I'm not one of them.
Well, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims.
Well, I'm not one of them, so why should I be looking for a Messiah substitute when I don't even believe a Messiah is coming?
Well, because you understand the story, and everybody does. And
a story I don't believe in.
Because they can't face having to admit their mistakes.
Well, I don't believe in the story, so I'm not sitting around waiting.
What story do you believe in?
I don't believe in stories. I believe in pagan natural law. I think that there are certain things that you don't need a story to teach you, like murder, like theft. Like, these are things that humans came up on their own before revelation. That's what I believe in. I don't believe in like revelations and these different kinds of things. No.
Well, revelation is important because people need to feel that their scripture is better than the scripture
some people
of a competing religion. You need you're kind of choosing.
Well, I would just as a pagan,
you need some way of working out which is the best one.
Okay, as a pagan, I would say none of your religions are revealed. The only thing that we have is natural law, and stick with that. And I think that these claims of revelation based on absurd stories is stupid.
Well, are you really going to call the Jews stupid?
Well, just because you could be it. There's just because, look, if you have a crowd of people and there's only 2 smart people in it, then the crowd of 98% stupid people are going to run everything. They might stupid people can run a kingdom. It doesn't mean it's going to be done very well. And so I think stupid Jews, Muslims, and Christians have outnumbered the pagans and do outnumber them. And I think that they're able to run a kingdom, not very well, not in a way that produces harmony amongst human beings. No, they can run it. So stupid people,
sometimes beggars can't be choosers.
So stupid people run things all the time.
Of blind men, the one-eyed man is king.
Okay, well, I'm not a beggar.
Okay, so you don't want to improve.
No, I try to improve it all the time, just not the way you want it done.
Okay, so you're saying your way is superior. So prove
it. I'm saying I'm going to try this way again. Like all this, I'm saying I'm going to try this way, but I can say that I don't like what has come before, and I don't want to live in what has come before, and that includes all of your revelations and all that nonsense.
But how are you going to be able to promote your ideas if you don't, come up with a new trick?
No, because I'm not looking, because you need tricks because you're trying to be on a stage and putting on a show for people. I'm not putting on, if you need tricks, I walk away from you. If you don't need tricks, I'll talk to you. But if you say, well, but where's your magic trick? Show me your magic trick. I don't have one.
Well, I
Fuck
don't have a
you.
magic trick either,
Well,
but
I know, but
you can
you have your
develop my
little,
narrative.
I'm not putting on stunts. I'm not a stunt pony. I'm not going to be putting on a show for people to clap for. Like, if you can't get natural law, then, you need to breed people slowly and train people inside an insular society that can, and you're not going to take over the world in your lifetime or overnight.
Well,
No, you
I don't
won't.
expect that to happen, but obviously, I hope that my solution will be preferred.
Okay, well, I think it's, Claire, you're trying to embed yourself all the way at the top of politics, top of media, and top down, like overnight secular Quranist government comes in. Like, that's just so, that's not, I don't have the capacity to do any of those kinds of things. So,
You can help me.
Claire, the government and the media are not interested in whipping people for not having children inside wedlock.
Well, it doesn't have to happen immediately. We can just talk about it for a bit.
I don't. Well, haven't you realized by now that that's not exactly what I'm looking for? Is a society of heterosexual monogamy where you're whipped if you have a child out of wedlock? No,
you can promote your thing on the back of my thing.
They're not compatible. They're not compatible. You're just trying to get me to do your grunt work for you, and I'm not interested because I have my own
grunt work.
I have my own systems. I have my own belief systems, that are different than yours. And
what kind of we're like, two children on a seesaw, or two grown-ups on a handcart.
Well, I mean, maybe it's good for keeping the conversation going, but I'm not going to, drop everything that I'm doing to uphold an order that I really don't want to see come to happen.
Well, you can always, you have the option of subverting it. I'm
subverting it now. Well, I'm subverting it now because, look, I'm like, every one of these articles that I put on Hindu Noahidism, I'm waking another person up to that possibility. And like, I'm waking another rabbi up to that possibility. And like, I am trying to subvert you. I want the Hindu Noahides to take over for a short period of time so that we can keep Islam at bay and, give us some time to work here.
Make life for your fellow Americans better ASAP?
Well, Hindu Noahidism would give everything that Islam gives plus more.
What would it offer America?
Okay, it would make them non-idolatrous. It would make them non-blasphemous. They would regulate their sexual behaviors, non-murderous, non-thieving, non-animal cruelty, upholding courts of justice. Plus, they get all this fun mysticism to play with.
But then it wouldn't be strict enough for them.
Why not?
For it to work.
Why wouldn't
because
it
they won't be able to take the whole thing seriously. It's like, Hinduism.
Why?
It's not even our tradition. And even however much you hate Islam, and the Christians will sort of reluctantly acknowledge that, the holy book of Islam mentions God and Mary and prophets and stuff. And even the Virgin Mary.
Okay, well, the Jews don't want that.
Islam is Christianity.
Okay. Well, the Jews don't want that. The Jews don't want that. The group, that's not their plan. They're done. They tried with Islam for a while. They were trying, but Muslims are too much of a liability for them to work with. So Hindus are much better, and can be tailored to the Noahide laws. So if you're looking for social conservatism, then Hindu Noahidism will do it for you.
Will it? How?
Yes.
Will it be whipping unmarried parents? Nope.
It wouldn't allow adultery and homosexuality.
Will it? We don't know. Nobody talks about these things.
Well, the Noahide laws forbid. So if you have Noahide Hinduism, you have to have the Noahide laws plus Hindu traditions attached to them. So if the Noahide laws say no adultery, no homosexuality, then you can't do that.
Yeah.
And Hinduism reinforces that. And the Hindu culture, the old traditional Hindu culture is against fornication and all that kind of stuff. So you can't just go at least under Vaishnavism, you're not supposed to be running around sleeping with everyone. So there would be punishments for adultery and homosexuality. Yes, there would be.
But not actual lashings.
No, well, wait. Who said that it can't be actual lashings? It has to be. The only criteria is that the punishment has to be strong enough to deter the population from engaging in the behavior. So if putting people in jail is enough to stop people from doing it, then that's enough. If you need lashes, then you need lashes. But I don't see why prison sentences wouldn't be enough.
Oh, but it's expensive. Incarcerating people is expensive.
Okay, well, I don't know. It's up to the society to determine.
It's so clear you're not interested, and you're not going to
Excuse me, I just told you. Why? Because I'm giving them the option to use.
Because you're gay, and you don't.
No, excuse me. No, you're saying you
can't be trusted to do it.
No, just because I said that the government would have the option to determine how to punish people, you think that means they're not serious simply because they're not lashing them? So they have. Okay, so if somebody put someone in jail for adultery, you would say you're not serious because you didn't whip them. Is that what you would say?
I don't want the taxpayer to pay for the accommodation of adultery.
Okay, well, just because you don't. The point is that it would be punished. The point is would be punished. You're nitpicking over what type of punishment it is, but they would be punished somehow, and it would have to be strong enough to stop.
They're not even discussing it. They're not even discussing it.
Well, they're discussing Hindu Noahidism. I mean, that's what's being discussed right now. And so that is the desired operating system that the Jews are now trying to bring in.
I can't take it seriously, and neither does anyone, because it's like,
the Jews do.
What does it even mean? Oh, let's talk about idolatry instead. Or Hinduism, or anything else, but the actual application.
Why? It would be no. If you had the 7 laws, adultery and homosexuality would be punishable up to perhaps even including decapitation if they were that strict about it. You don't have to decapitate. You can if you want to. So their punishments could be even stricter than lashing.
Well, that would be terrible.
Well, who knows? I'm just saying that, you can't take it away from them that they would punish sexual immorality.
Well, we don't know. They haven't done it, have they? They're not doing it in India.
Well, India is not a Noahide state yet, and this is new. This is like new developments. They're creating this. See, you have no patience. You think that because they're kneading the dough right now of Hindu Noahidism that they're only kneading the dough. Where's the bread? Well, it's gonna, obviously the bread is coming. That same person would say, okay, they're kneading the dough and they're turning the oven up. Eventually they're gonna put this dough in the oven and it's gonna bake and out it's gonna come a cake. You're just saying, well, they're just mixing.
Mormonism has toast that it's about to spring forth. It's, if you want it done quickly, it's in the toaster. It's going to pop up soon.
Well,
and all you have to do is help me.
No, they want, Claire, what I do doesn't matter. What really matters is what.
It does matter.
No, what are the Jews planning? What are the Jews planning? Not secular Quranism.
It's like we can outsmart the Jews.
I don't think so.
Would you like that?
I think you accuse everyone of being so Islamophobic. You are so Hindu-phobic that you cannot even see how this could be used. You're so hateful of it that you cannot see its redeeming qualities.
I have to take a position against idolatry.
Yeah, but you can't see that it has redeeming qualities too.
No, it's just full of mumbo jumbo and.
No, it does have redeeming. It does have redeeming. I was a Hindu for 10 years. I wasn't there for no reason. There's good things in Hinduism.
Oh, I have an idol. I think I'll pray to it, and
Claire, you're so shallow. You think that it's just. You really think that's it? You think that they just put up an idol, not knowing what it is, bow down to it, and walk out, and you think that's all that Hinduism is?
Yeah, they give you a few stories about Krishna and consciousness and Shiva and Atman
and the nature of reality and your presence in reality and where you're going after life and all these other different kinds of things. They provide you with a lot of meaning. A
Oh,
lot of people feel a lot of comfort from Vedanta. You don't even know what it is, and
you
you say
can't explain what it
because
is.
I didn't study it, but that doesn't mean. Look, if thousands of intellectual people around the world are studying it, it's not rubbish.
Yeah, but nobody can tell us what it
No,
means.
I can. What? Go take a Vedanta class. You could take a Vedanta class and
I
learn what it.
read the Wikipedia entry and it made me so angry.
Well, Claire, I think that's because it got into things that you couldn't easily refute because you're not knowledgeable enough.
Well, I don't even know what to refute since I didn't even
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
it.
Well, you're
No,
just not
which is why
knowledgeable.
I prefer,
Okay,
simple stories and clear rules
okay.
so
Well,
people
people.
understand.
Okay, well, they have the clear rules with the Noahide laws. Then they need all the fluff and the nice stuff and the mysticism and all the stuff that keeps people going. That comes from Hinduism. You have your Noahide laws plus Hinduism. This is the coming world religion if the Jews get their way.
Well, I think we can together, you and me, Vincent, we can show the Jews what's what.
I don't think that's happening. I'm betting on.
Yeah, because you won't join me because
Well,
you
no, and
won't.
I'm betting on. Well, two things. First of all, I think Hindu Noahidism is coming. Number two, I want Hindu Noahidism to come so that so that the Muslims just can't walk in and take over
Why not let
everything.
them just fix everything?
No, I don't want them in here.
Yeah, but then then you will oh, look at all the Hindus in Trump's cabinet. I mean, you can't make up your mind, and you're just
They're just Claire. You're not. There's a certain level of you that's very shallow, and you don't understand. Like, you think that if you don't understand something, that means it makes no sense. Like, I don't look at Vedanta and say, oh, I didn't understand that, so it makes no sense. I just realize that it's a little bit too high level for me to grasp. Even if it's not true, it's too high level for me to counter because I don't. It's too complicated for me to even parse apart and say, well, this is what's wrong with it. If I can't say what's wrong with it, I'm not going to come out and say it's wrong if I can't prove what's wrong with it.
well, I mean, all you can prove is that you don't understand it, and therefore you can't see its purpose. But you
That's
do
me
need
personally.
for ordinary people. They need to understand what they're supposed to be following.
There are millions of people who understand Vedanta. There are millions of people who understand Vedanta.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't, since you keep promoting it.
No, I'm not promoting Vedanta. I'm just saying that I know that I don't know enough to counter it. I would never tell someone, oh, Vedanta is false, because why is it false? I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
It's Vedanta spirituality.
Okay, can you prove to me right now Vedanta is false?
I don't even know what it is. It's mumbo
Yeah,
jumbo.
right. So then
like.
how do you know that it's false if you can't prove that it's false?
Well, because usually people will say, oh, Kabbalah is Jewish spirituality. So it's like, yeah, okay. Hanukkah is, the rules of Judaism. So, at least I understand it enough to be able to compose a sentence.
Okay, millions of people every year get sucked into Vedanta. It's just you're not interested. Okay, you're not interested in it. When I was a Hindu, I met thousands of white people that got involved in Vedanta.
Were they a bit silly?
No, they weren't silly. They were people. They were CEOs, and they had jobs and cars and all this other kind of stuff. They weren't, they were functioning members of society, and they were not, out having sex and doing drugs and stuff like that. They were very conservative.
Okay, maybe we should watch a video about Vedanta or something.
Well, we'd have to find. I don't want to waste time on shitty videos but there's the thing is that this is what they want, Claire. They don't want what you want. Nobody wants what you want, and the Jews are against you, and they're never going to work with you or the Muslims. They already tried working with the Muslims, and that didn't work.
So you tried working with Muslims to do what?
To Noahidize the West.
Well, I mean, all Jews, if they were serious about it,
they are serious. They've realized the Hindus make better Noahides than the Muslims do.
Who is to decide who is a better
Noahide? Okay, every rabbi, I showed you rabbi after rabbi. You have not shown me one rabbi that says Hinduism is not acceptable.
Most of them are corrupt and
okay, I have all the rabbis on my side. You don't have one rabbi. You cannot state...
Nobody takes them seriously.
Okay, So why, if it's so unfair, why aren't there Jews? Why isn't there an outcry from Jews being like, we shouldn't be giving these Hindus a certificate of Noahide compliance? Where's the outrage?
Because most people don't take an interest in the no-hike laws.
Well, the point is that anyone who does is on the side of the Hindus. Anyone who doesn't care doesn't care. But the rabbis who care are actually siding with Hinduism and not against it. So, you know what I mean? It's like it's the way things are, Claire. And it goes deeper than you would like to. It's not just convenience. It goes to so many levels. It is practical. Yeah, Hindus are better for Jews than Muslims are. If you have to ask a Jew, would you rather live amongst Hindus?
How is a Hindu better for?
Because they work better for them. They don't cause them problems. Because
okay, so it's because Jews are so corrupt that because they're idolaters, right? I mean, only, because the whole idea of a righteous Gentile was for Jews to decide which kind of Gentile it would be okay for them to associate and do business with. I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. And at the beginning of this video, we were talking about the Middle Ages when Jews, compromised their principles and said it was okay to deal with Christians whom they knew to be idolaters, but they wanted to call it a different name so it didn't sound so bad. So instead of calling Christians
the way the religion evolved.
It was Shituv.
Okay, well, this is the way the religion evolved. I'm not in control of the religion. The Jews collectively make up what Judaism is, and if they've decided to accept Shituv as a whole people, then what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?
Well, I would be arguing with Muslims that they're just making things up as they go along, and they should be held to account. But then I know that most Sunni Islamic scholars can't be trusted either because they live under monarchies. So I guess I would have to go to the Shias in Iran.
The Shias are not going to save you from Hindu Noahidism, I can tell you that.
Well, at least they would be able to say that these Sunni Islamic scholars are morally and intellectually compromised because they
get them to do something to get rid of this Hindu Noahidism that's coming into the West, because they're not going to do...
We know what it's about. It's about getting
it's winning. It's when, you could...
Israel.
It's more than that, but you could just say, oh, but it's this, oh, but it's that, but it is. It's like, I'm sorry, but this is what's coming in through the door, and you're just, oh, but this, oh, but that. But let's deal with what's the reality of the situation.
The reality is that the American empire can move people and services around the globe.
The reality is the Jews did invent Shituv, and they gave it to the Hindus, and they want the Hindus more than the Muslims. That's the reality of the situation that you cannot change.
Because having exterminated the Gazans, they still have a labor problem.
Okay, but it's also, not everything is about Hindus moving to Israel. They want Hindus in America because there's Jewish power in America, and the Jews and Hindus in America and in England and all these other Western countries are uniting. It's big. It's bigger than, it's bigger than these little things. People, you diminish people, Claire. You make people you just assume everyone is shallow and stupid, and it's just not true for everybody.
No, I was the one who pointed out to you that the Indians are at least being useful and loyal and eager and work hard for Trump. That's why he's appointing them to all these senior positions and ignoring his own people who are disloyal and cowardly and can't be got to do anything.
Okay, well, I think you're in trouble, Claire. I think that, I mean, I don't like Hindu Noahidism, but I feel as though it's coming in as a buffer. You know what I mean? It's a buffer. It's a buffer against world Islamic hegemony. It's a buffer.
I find you very puzzling because, you behave like an atheist, and then the next thing you say is
I behave like an atheist?
Down from a cloud.
I never said that. I said you don't know that I wouldn't see it. You just assume I won't see my work from another plane. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Well, you'd be in hell for all the mischief.
No, Claire, I don't know. I don't believe that. But you don't know that I won't be looking down on my work. You don't know that.
Well, you'd be forced to look at, the terrible mess that
No,
you
you don't know
call.
that, Claire. You don't know. You don't know what the next world is like. Don't tell me what the next world is like. You don't know what it's like.
I think your idea is that you imagine that what you do will end well and people will praise you. That's what you're
I'm not
saying.
even looking. You know what? You know what? I wish I could. I wish everything that I wrote anonymously, and nobody knew who I was, and that someone else just picked it up and used it. I don't need to be praised or known, or I don't need statues to me or anything like that. I don't even need. I don't care if nobody knows my name. As long as the idea got through, then I'm fine. I don't need praise, acclaim, fame. I don't need any of these things.
So your idea is beyondism.
Well, it's deeper than that. It's a lot. It's the secular paganism. It's beyondism. It's eugenics. It's it's these fleshed out ideas that we've been going over for a while now. But and it's not completely done. I'm not dead yet, so I'm not done creating.
Oh, Disco Burner's here. He doesn't like you.
Who's Disco Burner?
I don't know. He comes up from time to time.
What, he said he doesn't like me?
I don't know. He says gross, or maybe he doesn't like me either. But I don't know who exactly he is singling out for a special criticism. But I think if you were more cooperative, we'd get somewhere sooner, and you can enjoy fame and fortune in your lifetime.
No, I'm not. That's like a tempt. You're like Satan with Jesus being like, don't you want all the world? Don't you want all the governments? Don't you want all this? I can give you all this if you just turn your back on who you are, and just you'll inherit the earth.
I'm not even
And
asking you to turn your back on who you are.
you're asking me to turn my back
I'm
on
not
everything I
asking you to say
believe.
anything that is untrue, or anything that you think, oh,
You're
I
asking
could
me to
never
promote
say that.
ideals that aren't mine.
Well, and then you okay, so you acknowledge me as the Messiah substitute, and then you can say, oh, but beyondism, but whatever it is that you want to promote. It's not like I'm saying you have to
So,
acknowledge me
so
as.
do you really think anyone's going to take me seriously if I promote secular Quranism and a gay breeding program with artificial wombs? Do you think people will take that seriously?
Well, they're not taking you seriously now.
Well, I think. Well, I just had that whole conversation with our new friend. So now I have.
Oh,
He's
Sigma. What
straight.
what did he say? What did he
Well,
say?
he's all into the artificial wombs. He's all for it.
Yeah, because I think he sounds a bit like a misogynist. He
Well, all men
upset
are.
Newt. Women are just going to run away from him.
Well, the point is that. Well, there's
Because
more
any
people.
man who says
Okay.
he likes artificial wombs will alienate women. And I think
Well,
he's gay. I think he's gay.
I doubt that, but he seems like the type of person that if he were would admit it because he's so open with everything else that he's into.
Oh, he
But
sort of admitted it. I thought I was reading between the lines that he was gay.
he's explicitly said he wasn't.
Did he?
But yes, he did
I
explicitly
thought he was
say.
hinting that he was.
No, he explicitly stated several times and online that he's straight. That's why I wrote. That's why the title was "The Effect of the Artificial Womb on Heterosexual Couples," because he's straight, and so I wanted to get a straight man's opinion on artificial wombs. So, these artificial wombs have more supporters than secular Quranism has.
Well, I think a lot of men, they're just saying they like the idea because they want to show their hatred of women. And obviously he has issues with women, because I've heard him on MySpace interact with this woman called Newt, who's converted to Orthodox Christianity now, and he really alienated her. But
No,
I
I
think
heard
he's
that.
doing it on purpose.
I heard that. I heard that introduction, that interaction between the two of them. And is Loot Pakistani?
No, I
Oh,
think she's white and professional. I mean, and middle class anyway. I mean, she's. Well, I think she sounds educated. But I mean,
Yeah. Okay, well,
I,
you can't, Claire, whenever things you don't go your way, you accuse everyone of being disingenuous. That's just like, these are your tricks. Like, you don't care, you're disingenuous, you don't mean what you say, you don't believe what you do. Whenever anybody does anything that's not like what you want them to do, it's nobody believes what they're saying.
well, can any woman take seriously a man who says he prefers artificial wounds? It's like,
Okay,
okay,
well,
I
but what
don't
does
think
it
we'd be very
matter? If
clear
it
in
gets
saying,
invented, what does it matter if women take us seriously if it gets invented? What does it matter if we're taken seriously? It doesn't matter. Babies are coming out. This is like, Claire, it's like you can't just like, sometimes you have to focus. You're so up in these principles that sometimes you forget that what's happening on the ground doesn't fit principles. It's more practical. It's more like, oh, but this is what's happening. You're just saying, oh, but principles and morals and ethics. But look at what's happening. What are people doing on the ground right now?
well, they're certainly not having babies, and artificial wombs means a wait and a fee and a risk. So, this
Yeah,
is
it's the
just
same with
some,
the women.
science
Same with
fiction
women.
thing that people are
Same
just
with
talking
women.
about.
Same with women. It's a wait and it's a fee and it's an annoyance and it's a nuisance and she doesn't want to do it too many times.
Yeah, but at least, if you get her to marry you, she might do it once and you'll at least have one child.
Yeah, well, we need to mass produce in large numbers, and turning women into baby factories is just beyond, our ability at this point in time. So,
So you have to
find.
campaign for it through politics.
Okay, yeah, I know. That's you think that
That would be
I'm gonna.
quicker.
Yeah, and which politician is going to say how are all these adulterous homosexual infidelity politicians going to force women to have more babies when they don't have any themselves?
Well, I think Trump will be helpful in this because there will be, changes because he's obviously, going to change a few things. He'll have
Okay,
to
is he going to
secure
get
his
women out of the
legacy.
workforce? Is he going to get women out of the workforce? Is he going to take away birth control? Because you have to do those two things in order to get the birth rate
Yeah,
skyrocketing
he
again.
might talk about that and even do it.
About getting women out of the. You think that Trump is going to get women out of the workplace?
Well, he might do something about affirmative action and DEI.
Well, you need to start reproducing in large numbers. I mean, if you have a plan to do that,
Well,
I
I'd
could.
love to
Okay,
write a
I would.
speech.
Okay, if somebody told me like, okay, look, we need to increase the birth rates, and that means changing the culture and the laws, but this is going to take a long time, and
It
we
won't
have to.
take a long time if
Well,
you change the law.
I would follow someone who told me it was going to take a long time because that would take a long time. Like, I would, if somebody had, look, let's say somebody had a long-term plan and they said, look, we're dying, I'm not going to be able to fix this tomorrow, but if we start implementing these cultural plans now, maybe in 50, 60 years, our birth rates will be back up to where they were.
No,
That is
in
more.
16 years. I promise results in 16 years. If it's done now, obviously. But even if it's not yet implemented, talking about it in a way that you believe will be the future will have an effect on people's perceptions and actions. So, let's say it won't happen until next year, but by talking about it confidently and clearly, you will, impress on, your views and your expectations on the people around you, and then they'll adjust their behavior for when the law is passed next year.
Okay, you're looking for the quick road, and I don't
Of
think the quick road.
course,
Okay, I don't think the quick
why
road is
hang
going to get.
around?
I don't think the quick road is going to get anyone anywhere. I think it's a long road, and I think that if you just prepare yourself for the long road and you plant seeds, it's just
That's
like,
what I'm doing too.
well, you're more like trying to get, you know, look, I'm planting a seed and you're trying to take over agro business. Those are two separate things. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
it's just a matter of getting into the right vehicle. So, you're on your child's trike, and I, want to get on in a what you Americans call a SUV.
Well, I don't think that this is going to work in your favor, Claire. I don't think it's going to work
Well,
out.
you
I
could
think.
help. Okay, it's a hand cart. Well, we're kind of being on this
Well,
hand
I
cart
do
for a
help you
while.
by talking about it and writing about it. I don't practice obscurantism where I just say, I could do that and be like, oh well, this is just so beneath me that I'm not even going to discuss it. People do that in order to prevent ideas from spreading. People pretend that something is beneath their dignity to discuss when they just don't want it spreading. That's a very
That's
common
right.
ta- that's a common tactic to not discuss something because you don't want it going anywhere. But that's usually for people who are actually scared that it would go somewhere. Usually people who don't want to talk about a phenomenon is because they think that if too many people heard about it, it might cause a change. But I'm not really scared of secular Quranism. I mean, I can't think of any ideology that, well, I'm scared of Hindu Noahidism and I speak about it. And, I know that that's, but I also know that that's something that could spread. You know what I mean? And I'm using
Well,
that to
crush
my,
it with secular Quranism.
I'm trying to crush secular Quranism with Hindu Noahidism. It's a much more interesting fight anyway. I'd rather fight Judeo-Hinduism than Islam if I had to fight. If I had to really, really, come
Well,
down
because
to
you
it.
think Islam is harder, a more formidable enemy,
Well,
because it is so logical.
Hindu Noahidism would be more of an intellectual fight than a physical fight. I mean, there would be physical fighting, but it would be more. This would be more fought on the mental plane than boom, boom. I'm gonna come and hit you with a stick. It's like little bit more classy. I'd rather have a classy enemy than kind of like.
Well, it's just very
It's
efficient.
like
It's like
if you're it's like kind of like if you're playing in sports, you want to be up to someone up to your level. You don't want to like play with someone that's below your level, and then it's boring or annoying, or they don't play the rules right, or these different kinds of things. Whatever their problem is, you don't want to play with them. You want to play with someone who's more kind of like on your level.
yeah, and with the Quran, you just win all the arguments, and that's what's so good about it. And what annoys me about these Muslims is that they don't know how to use the arguments. They're just stuck into their I don't even know the word pre the stuff of the Ottoman Empire, because they haven't really developed anything. Because it's like, oh, it's a caliphate, and they haven't really. I don't know if they have or not, but they're not really doing it properly. And also they're scared of their monarchs. And I think the people who are being most creative would be the Iranians, but then I don't know that much about, you know. I guess I should try and find out more about these Shia scholars who are also lawyers, and ask them
Um,
about the latest developments in Iran. Because I mean, obviously, that since there are no theocracies in Sunni Islam apart from Afghanistan and Mauritania and Saudi, and you can't really rely on them because the law isn't being developed properly because of the absolute monarch who can change the law at any time. Um, it's not a orderly development of principles, but it would be done properly in the West. And it'll be fun, and you could be part of it, and you would be praised. You'd be
I'm not.
lionized.
No,
You'd
I'm
be
telling you.
feted. You'd
Yeah,
be belle of the ball.
you're like Satan with Jesus. Look at all these kingdoms I can give you. Look at everything I can give you if you only sign up to my program, and then you'll have all this.
What's wrong with that?
Well, that was the point. The point was that Jesus wasn't going to give up on his principles, for earthly power.
Well, it was Satan who was offering
Yeah,
himself.
it was Satan who was offering him stuff.
Well, I'm not Satan. I'm very principled.
Well, I wonder what Satan's principles are.
No, well, he just has a job of leading us astray. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's a sort of. I remember Tom and Jerry cartoons, so that would be a good, side to Tom or Jerry, and then the satanic side. So I guess that's the idea. I mean, Judaism talks about the evil inclination. So, it's like naturally we just incline towards sin. But then they also say that if we didn't have any appetites, we just wouldn't do anything at all. And the whole idea is that if men did not desire women, well, it would be very difficult for women to negotiate with them. Very difficult.
Well, it should be difficult.
Well, it's still difficult, even with because people think that they've got a bad deal and they're angry with the world because they feel they've been tricked and that kind of thing. And I mean, the whole point of believing in God is that we will have our expectations lowered significantly, and having had our expectations lowered significantly, we won't be forever disappointed.
No, yeah, I know this is again like the European spirit is to expect better and to try harder and to overcome nature and to not have to do it the natural way and to overcome. Like, that's not, I don't want to live in a world where it's just everyone lower your expectations. And that, like, again, that's very Jehovah's Witness too. Like, just don't expect it. Just expect a boring life. That's it. Just expect to live in boredom and suffer, and that's it. Like, just no, I don't want that.
Well,
I lived that.
Grateful.
I lived. We were supposed to just lower our expectations. We were supposed to, you're not going to college. You're not going to become a millionaire. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. Just keep a low level, low profile, and just hum-de-dum-de-dum and work in your garden if you even can afford that. And if you can afford that, be grateful. No.
But the secular Quranism could get you wealth and fortune and fame.
Without usury? How am I supposed to become wealthy without usury? Without being able to take.
But I mean,
how do I? Well, so this is, you don't even have it figured out. How am I supposed to become a multimillionaire if I don't live in capitalism? Where am I going to get loans from for my new business?
Immediately.
How am I going to get major capital if I wanted to start?
No, what you want is you want a radio show. That's what you want. You want.
Okay, but let's say that I needed capital. Let's say I needed capital to get it started off the ground, get it going.
No. Don't worry about all these sort of businesses. Just concentrate.
It's true. No, but who? Okay, not just me, but anyone. Okay, well, what am I going to tell people when they say, "Well, how am I going to get a large business loan without usury?" What am I going to tell them?
Oh, that. Well, what happens is that if a bank thinks that your business idea is going to work, then it'll share the profits with you. It'll be your partner.
Yeah, I know, but it's hard to get large business loans in non-capitalist society. People don't want to.
You don't know anything about that.
We know that. Okay, we know that usury makes people lend at higher amounts of money. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, but then it's like, we don't care. As long as we've got collateral, you can, we'll lend you this money. If you don't pay it back, we're going to get your house. So we kind of hope that your business fails.
Look, the point is that a lot of things in the West would never have been possible without large business loans, which are only made possible through capitalism.
Well, I don't think you're an economist. I think.
Okay, well, how many economists do you know that are trying to get rid of usury?
Well, obviously, if they're Western economists, none of them at all, because it's
okay. Well, so that they're all. So I could give you every economist in the West, and they would all tell you, no, we shouldn't ban usury. So I don't have to be an economist. I have every economist in the world on my side.
Yeah, but you're not hearing out the other side.
Yeah, well, you don't even have a plan. You're just saying, well, don't worry about starting businesses.
you will, obviously there will be money for businesses
From
at some point. They're
where?
going to, well,
From
from
where?
banks and people like that.
Banks, and what banks are going to lend at exorbitant amounts without interest?
They will share the profit.
Do you really think they're going to be spending billions and giving out $1 billion loans
Okay,
if there's no interest?
I wasn't expecting to discuss Islamic finance, so
Well,
I can't
that's
really
actually
tell
your
you.
weak
But
point. Isn't that your weak point that you don't have an economic plan?
well, no, because I know roughly what is going to happen. So if we decide to default on our loans because of the Islamic Revolution, then a lot of people will be able to escape their debt. Right? And then property prices will come down, and then the boom bust cycle will end.
Well, that's what,
Okay, you need to have this confirmed by an Islamic scholar. There are
well, this
very
is what they
few of
always
them.
said. Well, but none of them run a fucking economy. There is no Islamic economy that's running on this planet. So they don't even have practical
Okay,
skills.
I'll ask a few
Okay, you don't have
questions.
any practical skills. You have no practical skills when it comes to the economy. The whole Muslim Ummah has no practical skills when it comes to Islamic finance that you're going to tell us to just get rid of usury and everything's going to be fine. You have no system in place.
There was a time in Europe when Europeans didn't practice usury. So there, they
Yeah,
didn't
well, and they
die.
weren't, and they didn't have, yeah, and they were living in hovels and shitholes and eating, like, living in their house with pigs and stuff like that. Like,
The problem with usury is that you will be over your heads in debt, and then your government will tax future generations. I mean, what's the rate of tax you pay now? I think it's 30-40%. And this has the effect of making people not want to work that hard because of the
okay,
tax is too high. But
okay,
an Islamic
well,
rate of tax is 20%, which is
okay,
fair
well,
enough.
they're not able to, again, you have these high ideals that nobody can implement. There's no Islamic economy. They can't get it
If
running.
Okay, obviously it's not going to be implemented if nobody supports me, but you could support me because you're not really doing anything, right?
Well, I'm not trying to overturn. I don't know if I want to get rid of capitalism. I don't know if I
Okay,
want
we
to.
can talk about that, but first you have to acknowledge me as the Messiah substitute, and then
But I'm not
people will
waiting
go,
for
"Oh,
what
what's
Messiah?
that?"
Who's
Is
Messiah? You're not my Messiah substitute. I'm not waiting for a Messiah. So why would I need a Messiah
well,
substitute if I'm not
I'm the
waiting for a
Messiah
Messiah?
substitute for these Jews, Christians, and Muslims,
Okay, well, I'm not
obviously.
a Jew, Christian, or a Muslim,
No,
so I'm not waiting.
but you're talking to you're obsessed with these people. You're always talking about them because you know that these are the biggest religious groups and therefore the most powerful religious groups. That's why we inevitably talk about these people and occasionally about the Hindus. I mean, why not just acknowledge that you're obsessed with power?
I am, but not like. But I also know that I also know how to get it, and that means not quickly. And I'm patient, and I am patient. I come from a different culture than you do. I
Yeah,
saw
but
what patience
you need to
did.
take decisive action before we're
I
too
am taking decisive
old.
action. I,
You're
Claire,
just
I
taking
can
decisive action not to cooperate with me.
no. If my ideas get into the future, I'm fine. I am old already. I'm not like I'm not a young man anymore. And if my writings get into the future, then I'm happy. I'll be happy, and maybe I will see it from the clouds. I don't know, Claire. You can't tell me what I'm going to see in the afterlife. You don't know.
Yeah, but if you do things the way I do, then people will think you will, be looking down at your handiwork of secular Quranism with American characteristics in future, and they'll praise
I
your
don't care
pain
what
and think
people
what a
think.
wonderful person
I
you
don't care
are.
what the masses think. I care what a few people think, but I don't care what the masses think. You care
Yeah,
what the
well, I'll
masses
think
think.
well of you.
Well, I don't. I will have people who will think well of me regardless. Maybe not billions, but thousands. Yeah,
Hmm.
thousands. Yeah. I mean, I'll take what I can get, and if that means like long-term strategic planning, then that's fine. That's fine with me. I can't. I don't even want to like, go on these talk shows anymore. I prefer this other people just picked up the Noah Hyde laws and talked about it on their own rather than waiting for me to go research for everything. And the day that comes, I can give up all this Noah Hyde work. The day that it comes that everyone's talking about Noah Hyde law, I don't need to post anymore. Once it becomes a global discussion, I can take a back seat and I can retire.
Yeah, but you sort of need to kind of make it reach critical mass.
Well, that's what I'm doing now, but as soon as it reaches critical mass, I know, and you know what I mean? It's about to. Look, I think we're getting to a point where, like, in the next 2-3 years, by the time Trump is out of office, everyone will know what Noah Hyde law is.
Well, we don't know, but that's why.
Well, there's a lot more than there used to be. I mean, when I first did this 11 years ago, nobody knew what I was talking about. Now I go online. If I say Noah Hyde law, the number of people that, what is that, has reduced drastically. And the number of people who know what I'm talking about and respond has increased drastically. So, obviously.
Through your association with me.
No,
because
I mean,
we're doing this handcart thing, right?
Well, not just my association with you. I had my own Noah Hyde discussions on my own rate before I met you, so it wasn't all about you.
Who did you talk to about the Noah Hyde laws before?
I had a whole blog about it before I met you. I had,
talking.
Just online. I didn't go on people's radio shows to discuss it, but no, I did. Yes, I did. I went on people's shows to discuss it before I met you.
Mm-hmm.
I was going on people's shows before I met you, and we would discuss it, and I didn't go on as many shows as I've gone on with you, but I'm going on a show next week with Trad Cat Night to discuss Hindu Noah Hydeism, which I'm happy to get that ball rolling. But I don't know. I think you're in trouble with Hindu Noah Hydeism. You don't suspect so, but I do.
I don't think so. I think, it's good that more and more people are getting frightened and talking about religion, and that is very hopeful. Oh, I seem to have a call.
Are you getting a call?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out where it's coming from. I've got so many windows open. Oh, right. Shall I let you talk a bit or whatever? I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to mute myself.
Hello? Yeah?
Hello? Hello?
Have you muted yourself? Okay, Claire's muting herself. How long have we been going with this? An hour and a half. Oh. Anyway. Claire is... Let's see if she comes back. I don't know what to say while she's
Hello,
gone.
hello.
Are you here?
Yeah, I'm back. No, it's just somebody calling me on Telegram. He seems to want to come and talk to us. I'm not sure what he was saying. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. All right. I think maybe I'll have the I'll speak to him offline.
Okay, so you want to go?
Unless you have anything more to say about.
No, I need a break anyway. I need to rest.
Yeah, me too. All right then. Well, thank you for coming and testing my audio. All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.